Everybody, welcome. That's joining the webinar. We have Mr. Charles P. Rettig. He's for those that don't know, he is the 49th Commissioner of the IRS, and I've been told to only call him Chuck. So please know that I'm being respectful when I say that. But he goes by Chuck. So as Commissioner, Chuck presided over the nation's tax system. What people probably don't know is the IRS collects approximately $3 trillion in tax revenue each year. So he managed an agency of about 80,000 employees and a budget of approximately $11 billion. So the main focus in leading the IRS is improving the service to the nation's taxpayers, balancing the appropriate enforcement of the nation's laws, while also respecting taxpayer rights. So it's obviously a huge job. Prior to that, Chuck spent many years in private practice. He represented thousands of individuals, businesses, corporate taxpayers before the IRS, and the DOJ, federal, state courts, and state taxing authorities. And he's obviously held numerous leadership roles in various professional organizations across the country, as well as received many professional honors, as you would imagine. He's been a featured speaker and panelist at hundreds of tax conferences throughout the United States and internationally, and has authored many tax-related articles. So he's done it all. We're very excited to have you with us, Chuck, and want to welcome you. First, is there anything that I missed there that's notable?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chuck, but I believe the first and only tax attorney to be the commissioner of the IRS as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the last was in 1959 or so was Dana Latham. If you know, there's a national firm, Latham and Watkins. And so Dana Latham was commissioner in like 1959, thereabouts. So,
very cool.
I don't know. Maybe it was stuff people thought that was good, or people thought otherwise. Personally, as a tax guy, I if you want to start there, I can start with sort of my thought on, if you're leading a tax agency, you should know something about tax, and you should know something about what the agency does. And for many years, people thought of the IRS as sort of a data processing agency or a financial services agency. And, it is that. But when you really, we have a voluntary compliance tax system, et cetera, it seems to me that it's important that the people at the upper end know something about tax, right? And know the importance of how it interacts with everything else that transpires. Yeah, you got a lot of career people who know a lot about tax, but having people come in from the outside, to me, is critical for the agency to really earn the respect of people and maybe help, shift the focus of the agency. I do come from a small business background. My dad had a truck and 2 large boys, and that was with family business, and whatnot. And, in terms of tax professionals, I was a tax guy on the outside for 36 years. My wife is a tax accountant. She works in the tax department of a business management return management firm. I've learned, I used to say tax season was, February to April and then August to October. I have learned that it's January 1 to December 31, and, the importance of it and all that. And it's more than just putting information into a computer and having it come out and look like a tax return. Obviously, I'm saying that in jest, but, keep in mind, what I saw on the outside, I did both civil and criminal tax litigation. The return that gets put together and gets put into the system, if it gets called up for, certainly a field examination or a criminal investigation, everybody is looking at everything in that return and the backup for the return. And so, I've always been a proponent of get the information to the people preparing the returns early so that it can be put together in a timely manner rather than putting it in the system. And then, so frequently we're all busy, we don't reflect on going back to see something that was filed, maybe until we get an audit notice. It's okay. There's a process of amending a return. And if you look at a return, get it in. I'm a proponent of getting returns timely filed. But take a look, and if it needs to be amended, go ahead and amend it. That's really what the system is about. You want the narrative, if you've got an audit, you want the narrative to be about what's in the returns, not what's not in the returns, right? Not in the returns, now you're on your heels. In the returns, it's, well, we did this and we explained it and whatnot. So that might be more than what we were looking to lead off with, but that's sort of a combination, right? From, having served on both sides of that particular fence. And, at the end of the day, our clients sign their returns. And, I used to say on the outside, a tax return is not an offer to negotiate. It's a very important document. It's signed under penalties of perjury, and we all do our best. But no, and I think part of what, John and Greg and I are going to try to bring forth, the IRS is an agency of people, and they get it. They know that mistakes happen. So they're not looking for the aha moment. They're more looking in an examination context. They're more looking for what happened and why. What's the explanation here? And then how do we resolve it? And let's just move on, right? They're not looking to make an example out of a person. And, IRS employees, cross-wide, are real people. And they have, family members. They live in our communities. They interact with us. So, reasonable explanations come forth.
So I think that's great introduction there, Chuck. One thing I wanted to kind of just start off with here before we go into opportunities, which I know everyone's interested in. You have 80,000 people under your head. It's a pretty overwhelming thing. You came from private practice, obviously had a large firm, but 80,000 is a lot of people. From a day-to-day perspective, what does the commissioner actually do? How in the weeds are you with the things that we all see in the media, things us as tax practitioners know about, or the things that clients just see on the headlines? How involved in the weeds does the commissioner get, and how involved did you get, and what does the day-to-day look like?
So by and large, commissioner does not get involved in specific taxpayer matters. That's left to the career people. And there's more or less a wall between, you have commissioner, and then under the commissioner, you have a deputy commissioner for ops support, which is the CFO, CIO, and all that. And then you have a deputy commissioner for service and enforcement. Service and enforcement's the part of the IRS that most people are familiar with. There's a reasonable wall between the service and enforcement and the commissioner. And so if a call came in and it was somebody who wanted to talk about a taxpayer matter, that call gets diverted off to deputy commissioner, service and enforcement, and I likely would never know about it. That call could come in from practitioners or others. That call could also come in off the hip, right? A senator or a congressperson has somebody and they want to make sure the commissioner is aware of this matter. And they're not going to deal with the number 2 guy. They want to deal with the number 1 guy. I'm United States Senator and et cetera, and all that. And so then, the call comes in, then I'll take the call with the deputy commissioner, but I control the call and say, Senator, it's a pleasure to meet you, et cetera. However, I have with me my deputy commissioner, which was Doug O'Donnell in the end. And he's going to interact with your people on this. So you and I don't need to interact with this, Senator. Doug will interact with your staff and they'll handle it. And if there's something that Doug feels the need for me to be involved in, I'll be involved in. But that never happened. The deputy commissioners know, cut it off, right? Don't put the commissioner in that position. Beyond that, on a day-to-day basis, I think every commissioner runs the shop a little bit differently. I'm very much, in my mind at least, a people person. Care a lot about, the people, which is the employees as well as tax professionals as well as taxpayers. I think that if you go back and look at, what transpired while we were there, you'll see that. I was the guy I was commissioner when we went into COVID, and we had the CARES Act, which was the first of 3 rounds of stimulus payments. So I could have sat, if you will, in an ivory tower back in Washington and said, well, poor country, poor people, poor this, poor that. We didn't. We leaned into it, and it was, well, what can we do? And so we came out, the CARES Act was March of 2020. We came out with the People First initiative within a week of the CARES Act. And basically, I reached to the tax professional community and said, if you're me, what do you need done that I can do without changing the Internal Revenue Manual, without engaging Treasury, right? What can I do, and what do you need done now, right? From a Monday, and those that came in from private practitioners, said, we really need this. We suspended examinations, but we also suspended payments and gave interest relief to people, et cetera. Just put everybody on a holiday, if you will, right? And when we open back up, they're no worse the wear. So we don't want interest accruing. We don't want them making payments. We wanted people, whether they're practitioners or whether they're taxpayers, to focus on themselves, right? We'll deal with what we need to deal with, but the IRS, and if somebody owes or has a filing issue, the IRS should not be their problem. let them deal with the people side of their world, family, community, and all that. That also gave us a breather I shut down the IRS, right?